A crowd forms ahead of a crucial meeting that could shape a new future for Texas education and decide whether students will hear Bible stories in the classroom.
A stern warning from the leader of a major world superpower as the U.S. makes a big commitment to help Ukraine in its war against Russia.
Well, we start this afternoon with a live look outside where you can see some blue skies over downtown Austin. But of course, this follows hours worth of overcast skies and some rain.
Yeah, and speaking of the rain, check out this video from our photographer, Frank Martinez. This was out on 290 this morning with heavy raindrops. You can see right there pelting his windshield as he made his way down the road.
And Nick, the rain certainly is sight for sore eyes, but the question, are we going to see some more?
No, this may be it for at least the next week. So hopefully you got to enjoy it where you were here this morning. Yes, it did make for a wet morning commute for many as those rounds of showers and some heavier downpours moved through. Didn't get any severe weather, but we did get some blustery winds that came with some of those downpours earlier on this morning. Now the rain has cleared to our east, but we still have just a few leftover clouds in parts of Lee and Fayette counties. Those clouds are now clearing next. How much rain did we end up with? Well, amounts, of course, were varied. Most of us got between 1/4 of an inch and an inch, and you can see some of those spots in the hill country a little over an inch of rain. Closer to the metro, about 1/4 inch at Austin's Camp Mabry from last night through this morning. 1/3 of an inch there at Barton Creek at Loop 360. You can see just east of Lakeway, a little more than 3/4 of an inch of rain, and then between about 1/4 and 3/4 of an inch in our eastern counties. And of course, we've got your rainfall totals closer to where you are on KXAN.com right now. Even with all the rain this morning, the afternoon sun allowed temperatures to jump rather nicely into the mid-70s. Feels pretty nice out there right now. Air is comfortable. The air is dry. We'll be in the 60s here at 7, low 60s at 9, and then already in the 50s here at 11 o'clock tonight. Coming up in First Warning Weather, we'll show you briefly warmer temperatures tomorrow ahead of our next front that is just a little more than a day away. We'll show you the impacts from that, including the potential for our first frost or freeze of the season in some spots.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. Today, state leaders in charge of public school curriculum may approve some new materials with a religious slant.
And proposed new curriculum incorporating Christian teachings drew a passionate crowd to Austin today as the state weighs how and when to teach young students about religion. Our Ryan Chandler was there.
Parents and their children praising Christianity in the classroom.
Praise Father God, we cherish you, Father God.
At the State Board of Education Monday, their prayers may be answered. The proposed Bluebonnet curriculum includes biblical stories to teach reading and language arts in kindergarten through 5th grade, teaching moral lessons rooted in Jesus and emphasizing a Christian foundation in American history.
Not only is learning about common stories and phrases from the Bible important in a student's understanding of history, but it is the First Amendment right to have access to this information.
The proposal sparking as much debate as religion itself.
The state may not turn public schools into Sunday schools and force teachers into the position of preaching rather than teaching.
Religious and academic leaders uniting to denounce the material.
How can we teach religion in public schools? Whose religion are we talking about?
Critics say this is not a neutral review of religious history. Rather, it favors just one belief.
They promote particular religious views over others, and in doing so, they violate parents' rights to determine the religious upbringing of their children.
If the board approves the Bluebonnet materials on Monday, schools don't have to use them, but districts that do will be financially rewarded. More than 150 people signed up to speak on the issue Monday afternoon, hoping to sway the board's decision. Ryan Chandler, KXAN News.
And we expect the board to consider hearing public comment and considering this issue through the evening. If they do approve the new materials, they will be available for schools starting in August of 2025. Going in depth right now, Texas finds itself in a very unique position from other states in that it wields a lot of power over the rest of the country's textbook material. According to the Washington Post, the size of the textbook market in Texas alone has influenced American education as far back as the late 1960s. Texas is the nation's second largest buyer of textbooks, which has generated a financial incentive for publishers to ensure they win approval from the state's Board of Education. But Texas is not alone in its influential power. Historically, both the Lone Star State and California have driven K-12 textbook publishing, but Florida is also generating a growing influence. According to the Association of American Publishers, between 2020 and 2021, California bought nearly $4 million worth of teaching materials. Florida spent more than $8 million, and Texas spent $2.3 million. That year, those three states accounted for close to a quarter of all school resource profits for publishers.
Well, the Kremlin warned today that President Biden's decision to let Ukraine use American-supplied missiles to target areas inside of Russia adds fuel to the fire and would escalate international tensions. NBC's Keir Simmons reports.
Well, a furious reaction from the Kremlin to this news that the Biden administration, confirmed by multiple sources to NBC News, has agreed to allow Ukraine to use long-range missiles. It will mean that Ukraine has more of an advantage as it tries to defend itself against what is set to be a major offensive by Russia in the Kursk region to try to push the Ukrainians back out of that Russian territory. It is also risky, and it's being criticized by Donald Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., for example, who says that it's a step towards World War III. And the danger is that these weapons might cause fatalities, or maybe even, for example, hit North Korean soldiers in Russia and escalate the war further. All sides know that there is going to be negotiations, that President-elect Trump wants there to be a deal. Much of this is about positioning themselves ahead of those negotiations expected next year. But certainly many European officials say things could be worse before they get better. Keir Simmons, NBC News.
The House Ethics Committee will meet on Wednesday to discuss its report on President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General Matt Gaetz. That's all according to a source familiar with this meeting. The committee had been scheduled to discuss the report on Friday, but that meeting was postponed after Gaetz resigned from the House. The former Florida representative was announced as President-elect Trump's pick for Attorney General just hours before his resignation. Speaker Mike Johnson is opposed to the release of the Gaetz ethics report, saying Friday he would, quote, strongly request the panel not make it public due to the fact that he is now a former member of Congress. A record number of travelers are expected this Thanksgiving. The projections estimate nearly 80 million travelers will head 50 miles or more from home for the holiday. So this year's forecast sets a new record and exceeds pre-pandemic numbers. AAA projects 71.7 million people will travel by car, which comes at a good time as gas prices have lowered this Thanksgiving season. Thanksgiving air travel is also expected to set a new record, with nearly 6 million people set to fly domestically. Going in depth right now, nearly 6 million Texans are expected to be among those hitting the roads and the skies for the Thanksgiving holiday. AAA says that's a 1.3% increase from last year's record number of travelers.
Spirit Airlines has filed for bankruptcy protection. The budget-friendly airline is dealing with years of mounting losses, a failed merger, and more demanding consumer tastes. Spirit says it reached a prearranged deal with its bondholders to help it through the bankruptcy. The airline expects to continue operating normally as it expects to exit bankruptcy in the first quarter of next year. Customers can continue to book with the carrier as the busy holiday season approaches. Spirit is the first major U.S. airline to file for Chapter 11 in 13 years. A proposed development near Hamilton Pool got the green light today for its innovative plan to provide water to the 1,400-acre project near the Hayes-Travis County line. It would pull water directly from Lake Travis.
And joining us now is senior science reporter Eric Henriksen, who works around the clock. So thank you for being here. Okay, this development, Eric, is a little atypical of what we see in Central Texas, right?
Right, it is. So Mirasol Springs is a green development near Hamilton Pool. Neighbors have expressed concerns it'll use too much water. Now, last month, the developers proposed a plan with the West Travis County Public Utility Agency calling to build and pay for a new pipe to get water from Lake Travis. Now, today, utility board members approved moving forward with that line with a few caveats.
You and I are on the same side of the table. We're not on different sides. We're trying to protect the environment.
And we see things moving in a direction in a positive way.
After years of back and forth, a bittersweet moment in the history of Marisol Springs.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes unanimously.
The West Travis County Public Utility Agency moving forward with the conservation scale development.
There's both good and not so good, but we're making progress.
Lou Adams owns property surrounded by Marisol Springs. While still worried about the development, he says the approved pipeline could provide relief for potential groundwater issues.
But of course, where pipelines go, we historically know that development follows.
Under the contract, Marisol Springs won't be able to use well and river water. Instead, a small 3-inch water service line will pull in water from Lake Travis.
You know, limitations on the size of that pipeline, if this is the only pipeline, etc., will make a big difference in what happens in the hill country.
Board members added new restrictions to the contract after the nearby Groundwater Conservation District and Travis County Commissioners Court weighed in. That includes no new wells and allowing inspections of the property. If the developers violate any restrictions, they would see their water shut off within 60 days. Marisol Capital founder Steve Wynn says they're aiming to protect the land, not just for their property, but to inspire future developers.
We've got to build in a way that is environmentally responsible and can be used as a playbook for the expansion that is inevitable in this part of the country.
Now, the Public Utility Agency will write a draft of the contract, which they plan to post publicly in 2 days. Now, next month, the finalized contract will be offered up. At that point, Marisol will need to decide if they want to accept the agency's terms, if they want to access the water.
All right, Eric, thank you very much. And activists opposing the Marisol Springs development and the extended line have cited a 2015 study by the Meadows Center. Now, that study found a water line along US 290 led to increased development and groundwater depletion in the area. However, the author of that study said last week that this is not applicable in this case. He said the 290 pipeline was meant to boost development, while this line is meant for a single development.
All right, we got some much needed rain this morning, making the way for a beautiful blue sky, sunshine. It feels so good out there.
Lovely day. And, you know, I wish we could say we've got more rain like that in our forecast anytime soon, but the next 7 days look dry. But you wouldn't know it rained this morning as you look at our covert Bee Cave Auto Mall camera there just off 71 in Bee Cave, just west of the Hill Country Galleria, where we've got completely clear skies outside right now. As far as our cold front that did bring us the rain here this morning, this is the approximate location of it, continuing to move out east, taking any leftover clouds along with it, but not really bringing us a huge temperature drop. Sure, tonight will be a little cooler than last night because this morning it was raining and it was actually kind of warm at first. But no significant temperature drop coming with this first cold front. But wait, there's more. Let me first show you your Tuesday, which is cloudless. As the time moves, you're not seeing any clouds drifting by. That's because we think we'll go from a completely clear and starry night tonight to a completely sunny and beautiful looking day here tomorrow. So there we go, down to 51 tonight. Still a little bit breezy, winds out of the west and then northwest, 5 to 15 miles per hour, but we could still get gusts up near 20, 25, especially early on this evening. And then still a little breezy tomorrow out of the northwest, 10 to 15 miles per hour. But look how warm it gets tomorrow. Today, 70s. Tomorrow, we're back in the 80s again, like this cold front never even happened, right? Beautiful sunshine tomorrow, barely a cloud around. And then you can see how quickly we get there. We'll start at 51, and then you can see we're already back up to 70 here by 11. And then it's the low 80s for just a short time tomorrow afternoon, between roughly 3-4 p.m. is when we reach our high temperatures for this time of year. But this is 10-11 degrees warmer than we should be this time of year, so remember that. But then changes start to arrive. Early Wednesday morning, another cold front comes through. This one does not bring rain. It does not even bring clouds, but it will bring gustier, chilly winds that will knock our highs down from 81 Tuesday to just 69 on Wednesday. And then we're slowly warming after that, 73 Thursday, 75 on Friday. But the nighttime lows will be even more remarkable, perhaps, from the 50s to the low 40s in Austin on Thursday morning. That would be our coldest morning of the season so far, outdoing a very chilly morning we had a few days ago. But perhaps more importantly, it could lead to some patchy frost or even very localized freezes in parts of the hill country, especially Thursday morning. I know from this map you're not seeing any 30-degree or lower numbers, but in some of our cooler valleys, in between some of these temperatures, the numbers may just drop briefly to that 32-degree mark here Thursday morning. And then we'll start a climb again. 73 Thursday afternoon, 75 mostly sunny Friday. Continuing the sunshine and warming trend this weekend. 77 Saturday, low 80s Sunday and Monday. What about the extended outlook? Well, we're back to near normal rain here the week of Thanksgiving into early December. And it does look like Thanksgiving may be our first and next opportunity for rain.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. Today, the city of Austin announced the band Third Eye Blind will headline the New Year's Eve celebration this year. Starting at 7 p.m. on New Year's Eve at Auditorium Shores, you'll have the opportunity to watch the band, enjoy a variety of vendors and entertainment before taking in the celebration's iconic fireworks show over downtown Austin. The free and family-friendly events will run until midnight.
News Nation tonight. In a Dan Abrams Live exclusive, the FEMA official fired over messages to avoid houses with Trump signs tells her side of the story. Why she says she's not the only one to blame. Dan Abrams Live, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on News Nation. To find News Nation, go to joinnn.com.
Austin's Red River Cultural District is getting a new aid package to help keep live music alive downtown. Earlier this month, Austin City Council passed a resolution to provide up to $150,000 in funding for the Arts and Entertainment District. The investment is aimed at providing more paid opportunities for local musicians, as well as improvements in the district's marketing. Red River is a central part of Austin's reputation as the live music capital of the world, and the city is working to keep that reputation thriving in the coming years.
It was certainly an acknowledgement and nod to the future. We feel like this investment of funding is just the start. I think we heard from some folks today that, you know, it's really a partnership. It's us working together as a community to keep investing in this area and make sure it evolves and thrives with the future of the eastern part of downtown.
And this comes ahead of the return of Austin's Winter Music Festival, Free Week, which serves as an opportunity for the city to start off the new year by supporting dozens of artists in the first weekend of 2025.
This is a reunion for the ages. A vinyl recording of a 1966 wedding ended up getting accidentally donated to an Austin thrift store, but it is now making its way back home. More than half a century ago, Dr. Phil Schmidt and Donna Packer were married, and they moved to Austin, where they lived for more than 40 years. In 2022, the Schmidts moved from their Austin home to a retirement community in Denver. But a few months ago, an Austinite discovered their wedding record, and it was misplaced in a jazz record sleeve. And on that wedding record, the sounds of the vows, prayers, and cheers celebrating the Schmidts' wedding were heard. Last week, we told you the couple's story, which happened to find its way back to a friend of the family. And now that record is on its way to its rightful place with the Schmidt family just a couple of months after their 58th wedding anniversary. We'll be right back.